All right, so closing the gap. Dave and I talked about a week or two ago, just, what could my topic be, just to kind of help out the district and see what we're missing, what we're good at, and all the other stuff. And 2018 was, a challenging year. It was actually what you guys have done is, get over the adversity or the challenge of the toughness, the hard fight that we had. And I can tell you by watching kind of from a distance, but being in the middle of it, you guys are unbelievable what we had to go through. I mean, as a company, Lennox, by our leadership, by our district, we had to readjust. The amount of work that you guys had to do for orders, I mean, it used to be pretty automatic for the most part. Now you had to do twice as much work. You didn't know how to forecast any of the product, that where it was or anything like that. But I mean, be proud of yourself. I mean, it was fun to watch and it was tough to watch, and with the conversations that we had on the phone, we had some tough stuff that we had to go through. But to hit 30 million, Dave had that goal, as he said, and I can't say I'm prouder than any other group but this. So good job, everyone. And as you see down here, even Dave survived the tornado right there. So I don't know if you could see that.
What is that?
That's Dave Lennox right there.
Oh, is it?
Yep. So that's on the side of the building. This is the tornado down in Marshalltown at Lennox. So here are some pictures, obviously, from that. So. All right, so we'll get started here. We always, I think that success is built on how you measure yourself and by working together, obviously. And, I play a part in the district that is somewhat unique, and it's enjoyable a lot of the time, and some of the other times it's challenging, but you make the best out of it. But I think, we're frustrated by sometimes some of the dealers that don't want to respond or don't want to do the things that we know works with other ones. How can we fill that gap? Are we asking enough questions or whatever the case may be? And I think there's a few topics on here that I think if we think together as a group, we could probably help each other and pull me in, like Dave is saying, on some of the training aspects of it. And I think sometimes our dealers think that, all right, Charlie's going to come in and do training. Man, it's going to be 3 hours. I can't bring my guys to 3 hours of training. But can we do an hour of training? There's specific companies out there or dealers that we know there's a certain aspect in their business that they need to work on. Let's give them an hour on a Zoom call. Or if I'm in the area, let me stop in and let's train them on certain aspects. So we'll go through some of that stuff. So a few of the topics here: are we open-minded enough to help them with what they are looking for? So are we asking them the right questions? Are we strong enough in a relationship? So I think we all know in here, if we don't ask the right questions, we will never know how they feel about how Lennox is taking care of them or how us as individuals are taking care of them. And we'll go through a little bit of that in some future slides here. Let's talk about what we learned in the last DAC meeting with the types of requests versus their personality. So Brent and I had a conversation last week, I think it was, and the DAC meetings make me think a little bit differently of where our dealers are and then how they've grown or diminished over the years on what they, sometimes the respect they have for us, or do we give them so much that sometimes they take it for granted. All right, so if you look at the DAC meetings of years ago, and Dave has brought this point up, we had issues. We fixed them, and now there's nothing to work on. So sometimes they find things to complain about because there's no topics to work on. All right, so Brent's view on some of it versus my view, and you guys will probably feel the same way, is you looked at certain individuals when they were talking, the big topic was, what can Lennox do for me? I'm always doing things for Lennox. What can you do for me? And sometimes you look at that and it was almost thrown at you and you're like, wow, you really said that. But if you look at it at a wide view, you look at it and say, okay, makes sense. So there's probably about half of them in the room were like, we need something from you. So they're looking for a trip because they're comparing us to other suppliers that they're using. They always have trips, and that's a reward for them. It's like giving them a cookie. How many cookies have we actually give to them? All right. So we work a little bit different in the district. We put on, the spring conference, the fall conference. That's a thank you to them. And then there's teaching involved. So are they ready for all of that? Some of them aren't. Some of them don't want it. And a lot of them, because of, and I don't mean this in a mean way, but the way they think and the way they present themselves, they want more as far as entertainment. All right, so I think what I got out of it is all they want is us to be a facilitator for a trip. They're willing to pay for it. So they're not asking for something for free. They're just looking for a facilitator for a trip, just so they get the reward they're looking for. But in the conversation that we were having, it's like they're always looking for something. I didn't really see it that way. And then there's others that they could really care less about the trip. They know that they're growing through the process, growing with us. We're in this together. How can we work together to make sure that we win as a dealer and you win as a manufacturer? All right, so it's all kind of perspective of how you look at this, but I think we have to look at it as, okay, if they want a trip, Dave and you guys know it, let's put something together, and satisfy the ones that need it, and the ones that there's probably going to be half the other, so a quarter of them that are going to go along with it. The other quarter, they don't really care, as long as we give them what they're looking for. So just a matter of perspective. Do we need to offer more? I mean, that's, it's all about reading their personality, I think, is what it comes down to. And different ones are going to ask for different things. Some of them are about price, but I think we hinge our thought process on price too much at times for some people. And I don't think it's always the price. I think it's more of the value. So the illustration here is how can we create, capture, and deliver the value versus the price side of it. Yes, if you look at, probably we're one of the higher price products out there, but man, I hope we can deliver that value. Because if we're charging that kind of price on a piece of equipment, we better have the customer support, the technical support, when they call for you guys to get them some kind of pricing or whatever. I'm not saying you guys aren't doing it, but man, we need to be on the top of that. Otherwise, our price doesn't give them the value. So I think we're there, but there's a few things that we can tweak on that. And you always have to look at what the competition is doing. All right, so if the Our Steels, the Gustav Larsson's putting a little twist on it, and they're getting a corner of our market, how do we go at a different corner of the market? All right, so how can we be creative as a group that says, all right, they have pricing on parts and supplies, certain parts of it. How can we go in on the other side of it? I mean, you were saying the other day or yesterday, what do you call it, a shell game? Or whatever the puzzle that they have is, and that's part of our business, is how can we be unique on our side that says, okay, you're coming in on this side, how can we come in on this side to gain your business that way? So how can we be unique on that side? How are you measuring this? And are you recording this with notes for the next visit? Through my time here, you're all different. I'm talking TMs for the most part right now, and you all go to the dealers a different way. But the ones that I see that are probably successful more consistently, when they walk away from there, they're jotting things down and there's a file. All right, so now if you're putting a schedule together, this is just my view. I'm not saying I'm 100% right here, but just by looking at 4 TMs, I can see that when there's notes taken, you review it, and when you go back the next time, you know what your agenda is. All right, they were asking for this. How can I be unique enough to talk to Dave or the other TMs or, Todd or whoever it is? What can I come in there with? And I think if we answer those questions and our agenda and our notes are accurate enough, I think we can present something that's a little bit more promising for them. And it's all about how do you measure that? Is your response as fast as your competition? If not, are you using your resources? So I think we all get the emergency phone calls and all the other stuff that, hey, I need a price right now. I need this answer right now. And what I've seen probably in the last few months is I will get a phone call a day or two later that they'll ask a TM something technical, and then it comes to me a day after, and I'm like, I could have answered that in 5 minutes. Number one is, why are they calling the TM for something technical? And number two is, why aren't you guys shoving that phone call onto me right away so that I get them a answer quicker? All right, so, and I don't know if they maybe called me, I was on the phone, and they couldn't get an answer, and then they called you right away. I don't know, maybe I made them mad, and they called you first anyway. I don't know what that answer is. So just try and, if it's technical, instead of you guys digging for an answer, so if it's something on zoning, I know you guys don't deal with zoning all the time, but you know, if it's an iHarmony, hey, what stat do we have to use? Can we do this or that? Just shove it onto me right away. I could probably answer it within a couple minutes. All right, so using your resources, same thing with using Mike. You know, I think that Mike is pretty efficient at what he does, and I think with certain pricing, he could probably do it quicker than you guys, especially if you're on a road. So just use your resources the best you can. All right, training needed and how. I think if we kind of look, and we've all talked about this, I think training is diminished, and I think it's an industry standard that people are too busy, or it's just such a fast-paced environment that it's falling off. And it's not just our district. I talked to other FTCs, and it's all over. And then when chicken hits the fan, you know, now all of a sudden, oh my God, you know, it's an emergency. Well, I had this training last week and you didn't attend. That answer was right there. You know, and it's hard to point the finger at that, but it's easy to remind them of it in a nice, loving way, or however you want to say that. But I guess, how do we come in at a different angle? And I got a future slide here that kind of shows. We're measuring more as a company of what phone calls are we getting on applications, on tech support, which dealers are struggling with certain stuff, so we can measure, the thing of measuring again, of who's struggling, who's not. The hardest thing in our district is the ones that complain the most are probably non-premier dealers. All right, so they'll bark the loudest, but they're the ones that participate the least. And they don't want to become a premier dealer because they don't want to put the effort in for it. All right, so this is what it is. So just a few things. Are we just another box for the dealer that they're selling? You know, we've heard that before with certain people that say, "Hey, you're just another box. We can sell anything." You know, and I guess if our customer service is, you know, above the rest, they don't think of us as just a box. So if that's the statement out of some of them, I guess maybe we got to team up and get them to think a little bit differently. And I think these are certain questions that you got to ask them if you're struggling with a dealer. Do they like the product? All right, so I can name a few right now. It's like, it doesn't matter whether I put in Carrier, Goodman, Lennox, whatever. You're just another box, you know. Do they like the changes?
We talk about that, sorry.
Sure.
As a group.
Yep.
Hopefully loud enough so that it picks us up. I can see a little bit, but that's a great point, man. I mean, I hope they can put everything in. It's almost like I hear, from my point perspective, I hear our dealers saying, I can put everything in, like that they're the greatest thing in the world. Yes, I would expect them to be able to put everything in. But don't they want something great for what they're putting in? Don't they want to be a part of something great that's greater than us as individuals? I mean, if you look at the community aspect of what we have, it is something greater than ourselves. It's not one person, it's every one of us. It's every one of our dealers. And I think what I like to see us become experts at talking about in the field is that. It is not the fact that they could put any brand in, and I hope they can, and we should say that, well, I hope you put every brand in. Because my goodness, you're a great tech. I mean, what do you mean you can? Of course you can. Yes, you can. Of course. But are you part of what you want to be part of in your business? Is that what you really want? Is to be able to put anything in and have nothing to stand for? Or do you want something that, some huge, massive shit behind you that cares about you, that grows your future with us?
Well, what gets me a little hot under the collar is when we have these DAC meetings and inevitably somebody says the famous Dan Eaton quote, "It's all shit," right? Which I can't stand.
Right.
I hate it so much because first of all, it's not all the same. Second of all, look at everything that we do to back that product up. We're the difference. I mean, we're the support. The guys at the stores are making sure that these dealers have it when they need it. Sometimes going the extra mile. I mean, we're the difference. So when they say it's all shit, it's like they're looking at us as equals, which is not the case.
So then, I'm gonna ask you guys a humongous favor for 2019. We're a third of the DAC, right? 2/3 is dealer, 1/3 is us. And I heard the last meeting, I heard a us versus them statement like twice, really kind of put me on my heels. Because I don't look at it as us versus them, I look at it as us, community, together, fighting a different crime. The Defenders of the Brand series came up because the thought I had was putting our dealers out there, showing other dealers that we're going to defend the Lennox brand against all other competitors. That's where the series thought came from. So I'm going to ask you guys a question. We have 4 DAC meetings this year. When you guys hear something like that, I would ask you to let the information hit the spine, go through your center part of your brain to the front part of your brain, so you can use emotional and strategic thinking. But I'm going to ask you to stand up and fight that, please. Quit letting this be an okay thing for them to be assholes. Respectfully, Brent, fight it. In a meeting,
I mean,
respectfully.
I do feel like I probably challenge them more than anybody else. I get what you're saying.
If it goes too far, we'll cut it. But I'm telling you something. We're letting them get away in that meeting vocally. I am letting them get away vocally for a couple things I'm trying to do as part of the art of leadership. So I'm trying to let them all come out with their stuff, because if they say it loud enough and enough, they're going to embarrass the shit out of themselves because they're wrong.
Right.
We've proven that with sports in the last one. Okay, Tom, I'm going to stop and answer your question. You tell me what Lennox does for you. And shut down the whole damn thing, because it's BS. We do a lot for our dealers. We are not a distributor, we're a factory. We sell direct. And you guys, I really think from this year, let's change the mood, let's change the mood, let's change the momentum. Don't say we fight with them, but it's okay to disagree.
Well, and to your point, Dave, and what you said too, this, I can sell anything. Building on what you're saying, it's on the opposite end of the universe, and I don't know what dealers we're referring to. I know Dan's not with us anymore, and rightfully so. But I would ask the question: do we have the right dealers? Because if you have somebody who's got the attitude of not wanting to hitch their cart to our horse, and they're like, well, I'll sell this if I don't have that, and it's just a box to them. That's not really the culture we're trying to build. We're trying to your point, it's us. It's not us versus them or them versus us. It's all of us pulling in the same direction. And I'm not saying that we're firing anybody, but in what you said, Brent, in the pushing back, and do we say something? Well, we're trying to find people who really want to invest with us, or we're trying to build together. Let's build a bridge.
But here's the thing, though, Eric. If that is part of the art, that's part of the strategic plan, because if we don't have any issues going on from the dealers, we don't have anybody with a different stance that's willing to share it, either A, they're just covering it up because they don't want to hear about it, they're going to dumpster pocket, and we can't do anything about that. We can't fight anything we don't understand or hear about. So we need it to be vocalized, right? Second thing is, if we don't have somebody that's not only on the table, we can't answer that decision making when a dealer is going to make it by himself with his family to switch brands. In that arena, we can fight it. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. We almost need all that controversy to make it strong.
Right.
And as soon as we lose somebody like that, we got to put somebody else back in there like that.
Right.
Make sense?
It does.
Yeah. And I think the DAC is very unique, and with him kind of monitoring it and bringing it down a level, And I think as TMs and myself, if I can help too, and Troy does a good job, there's an individual that pretty much said what you were saying. This brand, it's all shit or whatever he said. And sometimes if it doesn't work in that meeting, you have to have the individual face-to-face talk and just say, hey man, in the meeting I took that comment, it was almost offensive to me, and see how they react to it. At that point, it's like, oh, I affected the guy or the woman that really takes care of me as far as behind the Lennox brand. And it maybe might smack them upside the head that that's my friend selling to me, and I just insulted him. I meant that towards someone else. No, you hit me with it also. So you almost got to coach them along, because we deal with a very unique bunch. And I mean unique in very many ways, different, diverse ways.
Studying personalities all the time as a group.
Exactly. And you got to cater to their personality. I mean, if you got to slap them upside the head with a 2x4 or a tissue, you got to use whatever it is.
I think so on my filler notes myself to get accomplished this week was that topic. So you just kind of let in, I gotta kind of talk about it real quick, please.
Sure.
When we look at the DAC meetings, I'll get a phone call like, oh man, so-and-so and so-and-so are mounting a big thing, and man, that's gonna be, I feel bad for you, and I'm like, guys, I effing hate that. It gives me a stomach ache. I already know that we're gonna have controversy. I already know I'm gonna have to think on my toes, which I'm not good at doing. I'm better at thinking through before I speak, honestly, I'm sure you all know that. I'm not good on my toes. I just don't have great comeback answers a lot of times. So it kills me to think about it, because I don't know what they're talking about. And at the same time, I'm thinking to myself, there's two things I'm thinking about. Why are they so unhappy? Mm-hmm. And number two is, why aren't you stopping it? Why are you guys letting it fester to get to a DAC meeting? I don't understand that. If there's issues going on, deal with the issue and let's solve it. Let's solve it off grid. We shouldn't have it, festering to the point where they call up two other guys and get them in this, complaining club and crime club, and then they mount a whole plan. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to do this, and we're going to do that, and we're going to let it go here, and then we're going to demolish it. I mean, come on, this is supposed to be a freaking council to grow Lennox in Wisconsin by helping the dealers become more profitable and better with the program, which allows us to do it better as a support system. This is not about their personal vendettas. You guys as a sales team have to put that shit to sleep before we get to a DAC meeting and not put me on a frickin' spigot. You guys get that? I mean, it sucks. Hope you understand it. It sucks. We need you guys to deal with it.
But I mean, there is only so much control we have over that.
But then you bring me to their place, like we're doing tonight.
Then you got to use the
That
resources.
social control is phenomenal.
Right.
If you will hold that information, that you'll think through it, be strategic. But you know what? We got something we got to deal with that's bothering him. We're gonna actually go to his house.
Right.
I love that so much more than sitting, because now we can talk about it as professional people wanting the same result, and we can resolve it. In that arena over here, this is stupid. This is drama, like on freaking 90217, whatever the hell that show is, whatever.
I know shows 17 classic show.
You know what it is. The whole play. It was a more Melrose thing.
So if you guys have that, to your point, then say, hey, I need you to come up here, we need to get this thing resolved, let's take care of this. Please. Let's get taken care of.
So in the past, when I was in the Milwaukee territory, I had a specific dealer that I was in at every Monday. And I walked into that dealer, and one of the owners was as red as his shirt and was mad at Lennox from Thursday prior. And instead of calling me, he waited and ruined his weekend.
Right.
And I walked in, and he was, flaming mad. We went back to the meeting room, and he was just screaming and bitching. And I just stood up and I looked at him and I said, why wouldn't you have called me to handle this right then and there? Why would you ruin your weekend and wait and bring your blood pressure up, and just because I'm coming on Monday, why wouldn't you call and do something right away?
Yeah.
We have to confront them when things like that are happening.
It's a great point. And please, Brent, don't think I was speaking to you specifically.
No.
Because Troy and I have this issue quite a bit. and he's asking, how do I deal with this? How do you want me to handle this? You know, what do you want? You want me to let it go into the meeting? And sometimes we have to let it go to the meeting. And just make them look like an ass on their own, but.
I mean,
I'd rather not
I
do
knew you were
that.
talking about Troy the whole time.
No.
It is his birthday, why not?
Yeah.
Two dealers, it's okay.
And I think what Brent was saying too, I think one of the side effects of the DAC, both positive and negative, is there's been a lot of relationships created, strong ones. So a lot of times we don't know about it necessarily because they're texting back and forth. And
Sure.
I just think that's kind of what maybe Brent was.
And that's-
referring to.
that-
Yeah.
Well, that's fine. If it's something you all don't know about, that's different. And we all go under annoying together, and I'm okay with that. I just feel like you know about it, and then you tell me about it, like, ooh, you know, it's like, I'm sorry, but, you know, no, let's deal with it. Let's figure this thing out.
So, can we ask a question that kind of always wanted to ask you guys about the DAC? Now that Bill is not there anymore, do you notice a change within the group?
Well, I think our format in the meeting's a little different too.
I think we're missing somebody that's really challenging the group. I mean, Bill would come in with a lot of ideas. He's kind of the ringleader of Mike and Tom in a way. Mike might be ultimate ringleader over Tom, but I think Bill in that mix, I think they kind of listen to him. He's the idea man, right?
Mhm.
He's going to come with it. So I think our conversations are less interesting. I think the frustration is still there, but I miss having Bill there. Now, the good thing is, with Bill not being,
Yes, I mean, I feel yes, for
yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
and the difference with Bill not being on the DAC is that he will, on those text message chains, he will say, you know, Kyle, Tom, and Mike are upset about this. I thought you might want to know. I didn't respond to any of the messages. I just thought you'd want to know. So he kind of fills me in on those things that I don't want to, you know. But
And the same thing that you and I need to talk to Bill about. I've talked to him about, but I think we need to talk to him again when we do this year's program.
Yeah.
I'll get that nailed down.
yeah.
Sorry for making you around so long. I really feel that our company has built itself on very little hierarchy, which I love because I hate hierarchy. You know, I respect everyone, period. I don't care what their role is, I respect you for it, you know? Tommy's got to make different decisions I got to make, you know, it goes up the chain. What I don't care about, I don't think is right, and based on how our culture of our company is, inside, if you're down in Dallas looking out, and looking at the whole platform from a different ring, you're in a big different circle. When a dealer is sending information to our quant, we're talking about Bill sending an email to quant about, you need to know about this, you better jump on this, here's what he doesn't understand. He doesn't understand what we're looking at. He's worried about, hey, my guys don't share everything with me because they know I'm busy, but they do their own. But I need to know everything, and so I'm sure your team's probably not sharing everything with you either. You need to know what's going on in Wisconsin.
Right.
Everybody's pissed off. What he doesn't know is we talk about openly about every shit anyway. There's nothing. If there's no reason to hide anything. We're transparent as a company, and there's some things that they keep secret because they have to. I get that. But I'm transparent because I have nothing to hide. I have nothing to hide. I'm a human being, I'm a sinner, that's the way it is. I'm trying not to, right? So when Bill sends an email to Quan, I look at that and I go, well, here's what he's thinking. Dave is not leading very well right now. And Quan is seen as a military expert, West Point graduate, led troops into war. He's the 4-star general. Then he's got 3-star general,
Oh.
2-star generals, and we're the field generals. My field general in Wisconsin is not doing his job. This is not a F-man thing. We're going to war based on his thinking every day. And my general's not doing his job in Wisconsin. You see this story? It's not, hey, Quan, I'm your friend, I'm telling you this. We want Bill to call our leadership when he's got something he needs. But Bill's thinking that this was a great thing to do because we begged him to call our leadership on stuff that we can't handle, that we can't do. You need to call. You have a relationship. You're direct. Call. We don't want to lose you, and that's our way of saying we are different than your competition. Our competition. But when he shares that kind of information, that's a whole different world, you guys. And when our team responds with that same messaging, you might as well just put another arrow in my heart and say it's only a few days before it's done. I'm serious.
Okay.
And there's not a whole lot of playground left when that happens.
So to your point,
it's very hard for Dallas to put things in context when context isn't given.
Right.
Right. So when that one email goes, it's like reading one sentence of a book and making a decision on that book.
Right.
Yeah. Especially if the comment's negative.
So-
And that happens all the time.
Yep, and I know what I'm up against when that happens, because I've seen many of our leaders gone. They shouldn't be gone. And I'll tell you very honestly, I get a little nervous, I get really nervous. Then I have to start thinking about, am I gonna respond to this thing and add to it, be defensive, or do I let it go and see what happens? Because the art of leadership, you guys, is not just black and white. It's a lot of different things. It's an emotion. It's a person's personality blended with his personality, with her personality. It's where we're going. It's the things that are happening. It's a lot of things. And you know, I finally
Ready already? Okay. All right, so we'll go through this real quick and then we'll go through this specific slide here. So we're going to review this in Salesforce, but are we using the right technology for the right dealers? I think that if you look at our dealers, you got some in the metropolitan area that understand technology. They're up on the Times. They're up on all kinds of technology itself. You get up north, you get in the sticks, you get out in the rural areas. They don't care about it. They have that personality. They don't want to adapt to it. But I think if they start complaining about certain things and we introduce the benefits of technology, I think we can make them more profitable. All right, so there's a lot of things that we do that other companies don't do, and it's staying ahead of technology. If you look at our products, a lot of them are ahead of our competition. If you look at things, the way we train, the way we measure things, different things like that, we are in the technology. And as much as they don't like it, if they want to be profitable, we almost have to introduce some of it to them in a soft way, and hopefully they adapt to it. If they don't, you know, it is what it is. We walk away. But I think some of the things that we're doing, you look at, you know, the phone calls that we make, if they knew some of the technology, they could get an answer quicker than waiting on hold. So when they call tech support, I've used this illustration before, call tech support, they'll sit on hold for a half an hour to an hour and bitch about it. But if they knew technology behind Lennox Pros and actually reading a manual, they could have the answer in 10 minutes. But let's bitch about being on hold for a half an hour to an hour. So I think that's some things that in a more eloquent way, we could bring that up to them and just tell them, hey, you could have got that answer here. Do you know we have a free Lennox Pros app? You can look at any manual you want, installation manual, service manual. We have the error code lookup tool, which, you know, we should actually introduce that more. Who was using yesterday? Was that you? So I think what you all have to do is open it, be familiar with it, and bring it to the people that after you ask the right questions, that's probably something that's going to entice their thinking to say, wow, that's great. I never knew you guys had it, even though we introduced it to them. But some of them don't get on the bi-monthly calls. So next bi-monthly call, I will go in depth a little bit more of how they can get on it.
Yeah, they're good.
So I'm glad you brought that up. So attendance, I would say a little over a year ago, it was kind of dropping off. And then we did some things to kind of tweak it a little bit to say that, you know, you get a better labor rate, you get different things. And I think you guys promoted it better. All right, so I would say in the morning average is probably 25 to 30, where it was getting down to like 6 or 7. Afternoons is right around 20. Now that's sign-ins, and then they have a team behind that.
I was gonna say, do you know, because Landmark has one sign-in, but there's 12 guys.
Yeah,
Same with Dave Drake here.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't tell that. I know that that's happening, but I don't know who's on the scenes behind that. So,
I had some ideas
But-
for us to step up and move up a little bit. Some ideas last couple I've been on, I wrote down some thoughts.
Sure.
With me.
Yep.
Whatever my whiteboard. I think that you and I can work on, just to bring some more twist to it maybe.
right.
And give you some, it's almost like you're reporting all the stuff you need to report, which is great. We almost need to give you some ideas for some other tools. And I know you've been
I agree.
asking for that, but we need to get some variety in there. And some
Yeah.
When you do that, you start off at the beginning and you have that code that comes up. How fast does that populate to show them that they did the trainings? Can we use that? as
How
the
long is it
trainings?
up?
Well, what do you mean?
Because remember, you and I called Landmark he went to the training, I go, did you register all the guys? No, I just registered myself. Well,
gotta put
you
it-
lost
Yeah.
20 hours.
So I always bring it up in the beginning and I leave it there for 30 seconds, whatever. Take a picture if you can't type that fast. And then most of the time, unless I forget, I bring it up at the end so that they see it again. But they can always call. If their efforts are towards it and they really want to do it, they'll get the code.
And I don't want you to send it out in the agenda or in the notes either, because I'm afraid we're gonna have guys that don't get on.
Right.
Well, that was my next question, is can they cheat it?
Of course they can.
Well, anything can be cheated.
Anything can be.
Depends on how creative you
The
are.
other thing that I
Yeah.
think that we don't use enough of, and I know that some guys, especially with the younger kids that we're getting at some of these dealers shops now, we need to get to the right person.
Yeah,
that
that's
we're talking
always been
about
an
on
issue.
Technology.
Right.
So I'm thinking of some of my guys that are those old school guys that don't like to use technology.
Yep.
But I need to get in front of the younger guys
Yep.
to get them to using pros.
And then the older guys are going to follow them.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is the YouTube stuff.
Yeah.
If we don't talk about the things that are out there from, I can't think of the guy's name that does.
Jose.
Oh, Jose De La Porte.
Yeah. He's got some really good YouTube
Yeah.
things, and when I've used it with guys, they liked it a lot because they like to learn by watching.
I'll bring that up again. I mean, we've shared that before a couple of different times, but I'll bring it up again on the next one.
They like to learn by watching, so I thought of that when you were.
And that's why we have to talk about this, because as Dave is talking there, no matter what we do, so our events, different things that we do that's monotonously not recreated, but same thing, we have to change it up a little bit to keep interest. It's the same thing with any of our fall, spring events. If we don't switch that stuff up, everyone's like, oh, it's the same shit I've always gone to. No, it's not really, but that's your thought process. So how do we change that, or how do we market it differently?
Gotta add a little sugar.
Exactly,
Yeah.
you gotta add a little sugar.
Charlie, have you ever done YouTube videos?
No. I don't really want to be the movie star, to be honest with you. I don't mind doing this impromptu stuff, but to have myself on a video, yeah,
He's got a face for radio.
not really.
Do we know where we are with the revamping of Linux learning solutions?
Well, they keep saying that they are going to be changing some things, so the problem, just my view of what's going on with HVAC Learning Solutions, I think whatever they use for their platform does not mesh with a lot of Salesforce
Right.
platform. And that was proven this year with signups for many schools. What a debacle. I have never in my life at Lennox, it's only been 8 years, but seen such a mess in my whole time here. I mean, like you're saying, how do we know who signed up? We can't find that out. The dealer don't know. Tracking this is just, it's a mess. And I bet you I spent at least 12 hours extra time redoing my mini schools to make sure that I was paid. I mean, it was just a effing mess. But, it was a learning curve for all of us. So Rob Short is doing an awesome job. He's the field coordinator, and he works directly with HVAC Learning Solutions. So he actually, again, measured what was wrong, what was right, and now they have a plan going in 2019. It's supposed to be a lot better. So they had like 4 different platforms and programs that were supposed to mesh together, and when you have 4 different things that are supposed to mesh into one, it don't work so well. So they have to really work on that. All right. So a little bit of history behind it, and this is the way I read it. HVAC Learning Solutions come up with, hey, 40 hours for the premier dealers. We'll take all that in our program. It'll be all good. So our tech support team says, great, you guys are going to take that? Here you are. Walked away from it. And then we got about 6 months into it, and holy crap, this is a mess. So the planning was poor, in my opinion. And we released it, and I'm not trying to blame HVAC Learning Solutions, but no one really looked at the long-term effects or non-effects of it. So So bi-monthly, what were you talking about?
YouTube
YouTube.
videos. And
What was
training,
it?
and, yeah,
Full set.
and training the younger techs.
So that's kind of on you guys, the TMs, unless I can help in some way. How do we get more emails? And what's weird about it is you go to someone's office and you're like, hey, can we get your text emails? Why do you want that? I don't want you feeding them with a bunch of crap. It's not our intent, but that's the defensive measure that they always throw at us.
If they have Lennox Pros, if they have a Lennox Pros sign up, we should already have their email.
We probably do, but that's like an act of God to ask for that,
Yeah, it depends on where it's stored.
right?
We're so vast, we have so many things going on, we don't, it's not all connected.
Right.
Things are getting connected and you're like, when it does happen, you're like, oh, this is awesome, you know, but there's so many things not connected still.
Right.
And then, you know, if you look at HP, you know, learning solutions, you know, Mike Moore is sick. Our company's not really talking about it, they want him to come back, they hope he'll come back, but, you know, he's fighting for his life.
Yeah.
I mean, his sister died about a year and a half ago from kidney failure. I think he's fighting the same battle right now, honestly. I don't have specifics. I've emailed him a couple times, you know, wish him the best. I love him, miss him.
Yeah.
I've got no response back. I know his wife's reading his email.
Yeah.
So I know it's not going to deaf ears, but he's not responding
Yeah.
back through the system. So I know our leadership is working with him, staying in contact with him. You know, I get a lot from Tom Tao that I can't share. He shares with me confidentially. So I feel good about that, so I never want to ruin that way. But they're concerned. They did ask me if I wanted the job. So you guys know, I'd be interested in taking that job if Mike retires. I told him no, of course. That would be my dream job, I think, you know, teaching and running the platform like that, but, you know, I really love what I'm doing. You know, I love the team we've built, the direction we're going in, and I want to work here, I want to be with my family, my God. I'm not moving like Dallas. I'm a Wisconsin boy.
Yeah. You can go live in a silo in Waco.
So, you know, there's a lot of things going on, and I know that they're going to find a very talented person to run that department when it needs to happen, but they really want Mike back. And honestly, to fill Mike Moore's shoes, holy crap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's really a thinking genius.
Right.
He's not a detailed dude, he's a visionary. And they're going to have to find a visionary that people like, because if you don't want to follow a visionary, they're screwed.
Yeah.
So they have to have some charisma to lead that way.
Made a huge impression. You made a huge impression.
Yeah. Sorry.
So,
That's just, you know,
no, that's good. It's hopefully a role that can be brought back up to par, and it's unfortunate what's happening to Mike. So, all right, so let's go through this. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but
I told you guys confidential, by the way.
yeah. So this is kind of neat. They are measuring things. Okay, it's pretty clear for you guys. You know, Kettle Moraine is much better than what they used to be. Last year they were either first or second in Lennox for call-ins. And we did some training, we adjusted some things there. I think it's better, but I think just because of the size that they're at, they lead our district, they always will. It's,
So, answer on that, just so you all know the importance of that. Mike Hart makes decisions and leads by numbers. He's very factual, very melancholy, very detailed, very numbers driven. He's excellent with math and Excel stuff. He, last year was on Charlie and I to make that transition, I think you too, Kettle Moraine. And we had to make something quick because when he's looking at authorizing and spending extra money or helping somebody, and he sees that kind of stuff, we're putting money into their business, but they're using our resources, you don't get both.
right.
So either you clean that shit up or this goes away over here. You know what I'm saying? So kudos to you two guys for getting that under control because I haven't heard anything about it, which means we're good.
Yeah.
You know?
I think a lot of things have improved. I mean, there's always something to work on, but I would say for the most part, a lot of this cleaned up.
that's just tech support calling down the 800 number.
Yes.
Okay.
So there's some things, in my opinion, that aren't in here, and I would have to verify a lot of this, but this is what is actually put into the system. What is a quick phone call and not put into the system?
That's a question, because I'm looking at someone saying,
I know.
you guys make money off of me because I'm self-efficient.
Can you go back to that? Sorry.
What's that?
See that page right there, the service classes, can you just go back one more second, sorry?
Sure.
Service classes.
There's something that really sticks out in that group right there, that first quadrant, does anybody know? Service classes, service cases, top
Service
10.
Cases.
What sticks out in that group?
Most of them are in the DSU.
Yeah.
And all of us that, you're right, every one of them, I think.
Oh,
No.
no.
Hovland's isn't.
Danco's not.
Danco's not.
I will also say that our very small dealer like Lance, they have that kind of calls as cases, it's crazy.
Well,
Yeah.
I can see two different things. First off, that Hovland's is mine, not yours.
Mhm.
And that Hovland's is that high because of the new inside tech guy who took Gary's place.
There's a
Yep.
reason then.
Yeah, so that's the reason that one's that high. And then the one that is Lance's, because they keep getting new techs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every time they get new techs, they give them the tech number to call.
So I don't know if you can go to a company like Lance and say,
We're gonna-
leading our district in service cases, because it will crush them, and they'll stop using us, and they need us. So you can't, but you need to know that.
Yeah, the smaller companies are in a position where they can't take the time to train prior to really putting them out in the field. So it is more or less, here's a tech number in case you need help, because I don't have the 2 months to invest in your training before you go out.
Right.
Does it have, it's got the number, but does it have the tech that called in? Does it drill down that
Easy
far?
I
to
don't-
drill down right there.
Yeah, so right here, let's find Hovland's.
Yeah,
So this is everyone in the district.
Well, I like this, telling you pressure switch.
Yeah, it's
thermostat, that's
kind of a,
It's probably local.
you see that? Even me, that's application, so. That's when I need a wiring schematic, and I'm hoping they have it, so I don't have to draw one and take 2 hours out of my,
Name up, what's a furnace?
oh,
Oh, I mean,
here, the funniest one, you'll like this one. I gotta think of who it is. It's Halverson. You guys are gonna laugh at this one.
I know, what is up with all my doofuses?
They don't have internet coverage, but you can call.
Yeah, cut that.
Right here,
Yep.
read this.
What's a hotspot?
What is a hotspot? And you see who called. So it does list their name. All right, so we'll go to Hovland's real quick, because there was a curious,
you guys, we can all see this on our cell board too, right?
I
Drill down on the company.
I would think so if you dug far enough.
I don't know.
I think we can.
You might have access.
All right, so let's just go on one of them. Low voltage short, just so you see. So Joe McSherry was the technician. So then you can go into details, and it'll give you a description. Tech has low voltage issues. Walk tech through bypassing enthalpy control, has an open limit. All right, so it's usually a brief description, but you'll at least get the subject and kind of the gist of why they're calling. And if it's a commonality of it's a repeated problem, you know what we can be training on. All right, so I know this is a commercial product because it's talking about an economizer.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes I think so they got the model number here,
Where?
a GCS 16, so that's a package rooftop unit. So, I mean, it's detailed enough that you know what to pick out and you can train on them. All right, so.
Is this something you want to go back to that dealer and say, you know, we can see your technician calling in,
Right,
you know, this is what he's calling in about, ... Is he on the bi-monthly,
right.
or does he need help in?
And you could take a screenshot of this and send it to him. Hey, here's his name. We're not just giving you an opinion that you need training. I mean, this is factual information. So if they want to argue that they don't need training, this is a fact right here.
Right.
I'll tell you what.
The problem I have with Hovland's is their union. So
Mhm.
some of those guys, with them being union, feel that they have hours that they have to be trained for, but they're not necessarily applying what they've been trained.
Right. Yeah. No, there's some holes there that I think at some point you and Dennis and I should talk. But, you know, and this is the things that we can do. I mean, if you see that a guy's sales are falling, or you have some adversity in the company that you see they're frustrated with things, you know, maybe we need to go to this screen and look at it. You know, how often are you calling in? You know, they're calling in or they're talking to you as a TM and saying, well, you know what, they're not happy with this. Well, what happened with this product or that product? And we can pull this up and say, well, they haven't called in on it. So what's the conversation we need to have with your service department, or whatever the case may be? So a few things we can measure. Any other questions while we're in here?
So can you search this by dealer?
Um,
Or does it
I
bring
don't-
that whole report? up?
yeah, it brings up the whole, I think you
If
can.
you go back to your first screen and just click on Kettle or Upland,
Oh,
Yeah,
check mark
you
over in
check,
the.
yeah.
yeah, you can check it.
They'll just go all.
Show detail.
It's a little cumbersome right now. I mean, they just introduced this, so I'm sure they'll fine tune it as they get some feedback.
So there's our report number, guys. If we can do this on Salesforce.
So take a picture of it
Yeah, please.
and see if you guys can pull it up. If you can't, I can maybe request it in January and maybe you guys could see it. All right, any other questions on this or suggestions?
That's pretty awesome. Is that called Salesforce?
Yeah.
You should try it sometime, it's pretty unique.
You can take the guys out of Custom Larson.
Do they even use computers over there?
DOS.
Or they got a stack of notebooks like this that you guys use? All right, bi-monthly calls. So I try to be very careful on how I bring topics up on a bi-monthly, because we all have dirty laundry. And as a manufacturer, you know, we see different things than the dealer sees or what we want them to see. You know, it's moving parts. We're always going to have problems. We're always going to upgrade. We're always going to, you know, invent a little bit differently. But do you see anything with the bi-monthly that we expose that shouldn't be? I just want to make sure that I'm not stepping out too far and it's ruining, let's say, their philosophy on the product, and then you guys aren't selling as much. All right, I just want to make sure that we're not. All right, we talked a little bit about, you know, what we can do in 2019.
Hold.
Yep.
Only thing I say we need to improve on
Mm-hmm.
is, I think we're going too fast. I think they're getting on a phone call at 6:30 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are coming into work early for that.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we're done by 7 o'clock. And I think we just need to slow down. Just have some fun. I think you're in this dun 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 dun.
Right, but how do you slow it down?
That's a double-edged sword
I know.
too. Because
Yeah.
some people are saying, I
Right.
don't have time to train,
Yeah.
or I be in and out, so I'm not.
Yeah.
I think a lot of them like to see it within a half an hour.
Okay.
And that's feedback I get. I mean, I don't want to rush it. I can have all kinds of fun with it, but, you know, what are suggestions of, I'll do whatever we need to, you know.
Dad jokes. Throw some dad jokes in there.
So we need to get Dave Chapman on the call, all right? Do you get up that early? Do you get up that
6:30 on
4 p.m.
I sent him something on Messenger the other day. What was it, like 3:30 in the morning? Oh, of course, he's got it right back by 10 after 5.
You know, those are comments I had on my report. I had asked more questions of the field that was on your call. Hey, Bob, I know you and I talked about
Yeah.
this. What do you think about, is this making sense? And get them talking.
I would love
Right.
more interaction.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is in the morning.
But it's,
the morning date, I cannot get anyone to in the afternoon. So I call them out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give us, we'll give you a list. I'll have Tom from Landmark.
Yeah, give me a list of who you think I can.
You know, I think think about this. If I'm on the call and all of a sudden you just randomly go, hey Bob, you and I have been talking about this, you know, has it gotten better? Or does this make sense? And make them respond.
Sure.
Everybody else has got an alert.
Yep.
Well,
Better be
and
paying attention.
once one guy speaks up, then you got 2 or 3 that follow.
Right.
You know,
That's one thing I had my point. The other thing I had on there is I want to see how I'm going to phrase this, try to phrase it carefully. I want to see you on the call. What? You're amazing.
no one wants to see me in my underwear in the morning, though.
Jesus.
Your personality box. People love you. And when you start that call, when I've been on it, it's almost like the professor, technical professor talking data. And it's just not you. It's not fun. It's not normal what I'm used to. And I'm just like, how do I help you with that? And I don't know the answer.
Can you do
If you can find a way to bring you into that call, we're gonna score every single time.
Yeah, why can't we
Can we do a Zoom, or you do not like doing it that way? Because I found out the go-to meeting, the few times we've done it, we've had some hiccups. We've worked through it.
Right.
But Zoom, the meetings I've been doing, Dottie, probably the meetings you've been doing, the meetings we've been doing as a group every Friday, I've never had a hiccup with Zoom at all.
And it's updated my speed to 400, by the way, to see if that's gonna make a difference. And I'm cutting out.
That's
Well,
your
the only so let me ask you this. So the problems, I had problems in the past with it, and then I had one in September or July, one of the two. But did it, after it got going, it's not unclear, is it? It doesn't fade?
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
It's
your
just the
last
connection.
two's been fine.
Yeah, it's the
middle
connection.
two in the summer were messed up.
Right.
What if we go into this Linux Magnolia thing, whatever, this concept, this idea of our facade training, what if that's part of that whole group? And what if we all put it in on our Zoom accounts and we store that information on there? And what if we dropped it into tape and just simply put it into an archive? So once it's saved.
Or you could just purchase a cloud of some sort, and then all you have to do,
We can get on the same platform. and
Right.
Access everything.
or Google Docs or something like that, where all you have to do is drop whatever's recorded in there, and then you give, if someone's looking for something specific, you give them permission to go into that.
That's the same thing Zoom does.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm questioning that, because I've had dealers say, I can't get guys in that early and I can't have them back here to do, why are you not recording this stuff?
Right.
And that's what I'm saying, we can create this library of use, and it's a great, it's great.
But
And then tracking the use of that though, you know,
Yeah,
yeah, being able to track who goes on and.
But if
it does.
we're recorded, can we be incriminating ourselves in something?
Absolutely.
Said? That's the next question.
Always.
We have to be very careful what we're saying and how we're saying it, and if we don't like what we said, we won't push that out there, but, yeah, I mean,
Yeah, this goes against the interaction piece we just talked about, but I would love to see you do these in the Milwaukee office and record them to what we're talking about now. But then, so that gives a flexibility for the dealer to go on not only at 6:30 and 3 o'clock, they can go on whenever, but then you lose that ability to interact with the technicians. But I think if we did it, maybe we did something to that training room, maybe made it more vibrant to your whole Magnolia kind of platform, and you did all the talks there. So you had a screen to look at,
So you're talking about trainings, not bi-monthlies.
but you would turn them into by monthlies.
No, well, I think my idea is changing that a little bit to specific trainings each month. So you'd have the bi-monthly, that is just a quick half-hour upgrades, changes, service issues, and then specific trainings to a specific product once or twice a month. That's only for an hour, hour and a half.
I think it's funny that our dealers never, I'm going to use the word never, you don't use the word never always and all that kind of stuff, right? I'm going to say never have I ever heard one compliment us on bi-monthly calls. At the same time, I know they're important, and they talk about them, but they never say, hey, I just love that you're doing that, thank you. Nobody else is doing that, but anything that nobody else is doing that we rock at, they don't come to us and say, hey, you're doing great here.
I've heard probably 3-4 guys.
The new guys do, yeah. The new guys we're bringing on, they're like, well, no one else is doing this is awesome, I got a direct feed to
And we
them.
have an open mic, which means bring it.
There's a few of the veterans that have said, hey, I love what you're doing, keep doing it. But I don't mean this in a mean way, but it's got to be pretty direct. How often do you really get many compliments from them anyway? They're gonna,
I realize that
you know, they're gonna complain about something and make sure that we're
I want
bringing it up.
to hear that from my perspective, because we need to add that to our arsenal about the things that we do that's great.
Yeah.
All right, because that is one of them.
Whenever I talk about it to dealers that aren't on those calls, I say it's awesome to be on those calls because you can interact with the whole group and hear what others are saying
Mhm.
to answers and learn from that.
That's
Also,
exactly
besides
what I promote.
what Charlie
Yep.
was saying.
All right. So yeah, I like your idea of filming instead of just a PowerPoint. Let's do some live interaction with the equipment that we have in there as much as we can, as long as we keep mini splits out of it. Oh, I didn't say that. But
You got like 6 in the warehouse you can use.
yeah, don't remind Brian of that.
No, or Aaron, because I want them out of there too. I need the real estate.
You have one little section. Quit your whining.
No, I got furnaces and will call.
We're just talking mini splits, one little section. Furnaces, you only have one of mine. Quit blowing it out of proportion.
I want to blow it. I'm like a dealer now. It's the whole warehouse has got.
I'll come there next week and you explain yourself, and I'll prove to you just what I just said.
Trolley rack.
All right.
So why not using Zoom? Because like we talk about the community and interacting with people and talking about it, like if one thing we love about the Friday call with the TMs is that we see each other.
So you can actually do, so GoToMeeting has that. It's pretty much the same as Zoom. Zoom is just another platform, a little bit different features. For training and PowerPoints, I really like the platform of GoToTraining. If you want to see my face, I can turn my face on.
Yes.
I think the dealers would.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So should I make faces and
Yeah.
wear masks and all the other stuff?
Dude, bring yourself to the
Yeah.
bring yourself
Yeah.
to the platform. Dude,
I don't know. I don't know. Some of them might not want to see
Be
that.
careful what you wish for.
I'm in a lab coat with like beakers around.
Hey, there you go. We'd get some people that would laugh at least.
I like that.
Maybe we'd bring them out a little
Tell you
bit.
what,
Some tape
I'd
rings.
be willing to do do the skit with you. We'll have our outlines of our faces on our t-shirts. What those guys call it? I forgot what it's called.
Oh,
Mythbusters.
yes.
We'll do a Mythbusters one
Oh,
behind a table,
yes.
and let's do some fun stuff.
Yeah, we should.
I thought you'd be Beaker and he'd be the professor.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing when you first started.
But you can't put that on like, you know, a go-to training or something like that. You have to have a different platform for that. You have to, that type of stuff, you have to go where people are, like a Facebook video or YouTube video or something like that. I mean, you can't stick it on some random Zoom call that you invite people to. It's not the place for it.
It's okay if it would be recorded and they could go to it, is what you're saying.
Well, and we're talking about, making the Magnolia idea. I mean, that is that platform, right?
Exactly.
Be yourself.
That's building
Be yourself.
that's taking the training room in Milwaukee and
Sometimes
fancying it up and making it.
Chip just said it. Sometimes it's 6 months delayed. I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes
So we got to plan it.
use more
I'm sure he's in the planning stage.
stuff.
Okay. We can work on that. So, topics. If we had to plan the first quarter of 2019, what do you think are the biggest topics that we need to train on? So if we do an hour and a half snippet, we pick a specific Wednesday, so I usually do Zoom's third Wednesday. Let's say we do second Wednesday is training. What would be the top 5 topics that your dealers need to learn about?
iHarmony
Oh,
has their,
Still these
Yep, so-
stats.
The new zone stats.
Yeah.
Study MDS30.
And why-
Utilizing Linux Pro.
Why they
What we
do
talked
it.
about with the zoning.
Using Lennox Pros, did you
Yes,
say that?
Utilizing it, yeah, to its fullest.
Yeah,
from a tech perspective.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah,
Oh,
the user code lookup.
Yep.
What did you say?
The zoning when we talked about using other people's zone panels.
Oh.
When you explained that to me, that was like, okay. I didn't say a big light bulb, just little ones.
All right. Anything else?
How many items is that?
Well, you got 6. All right. The only other thing is airflow. I pushed it last fall. I think it needs to be pushed again. I think there's a major underused or not understood airflow.
Can you, because what Jim Brett did, I'm renting the little ball with the barometer, the airflow for the filters. I'm taking that around to my dealers, and they all want to do their own video with it and put it on their Facebook page.
It's a good idea.
So can you bring that to the next, have that at your shop?
What is it? Who has it?
We have one,
It's
Milwaukee's got
the
one.
Healthy Climate, it's got the sample filters in it.
Oh, you don't have a
Lower.
little red ball?
That's Milwaukee's.
We had a small.
They bought it as a district.
No, that's the pure air. I have them both. There's a pure air where you put the match in.
Yeah.
And then the other one is they have a best air filter in there, a 3M filter, some Filtreats, and it's showing you air resistance to those filters.
Yeah, I've seen it. What's it called? Filter.
Display unit.
What?
Display unit. I don't know.
Static.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
static pressure.
static pressure.
So I'm gonna take that around to the dealers next week, and if you, whatever your next meeting is, I'll pick it up and bring it to your house and drop it off so you have it in your house.
Okay.
The morning of.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Anything else?
Thank you for doing it.
All right. No problem. All right, relatability, we talked a little bit about it to the specific dealer, and as Dave said, we have to read personalities. We've studied it, and I think we get probably frustrated enough about it. We just have to know their personality and what we need to cater to them. So a few things here. Do we answer quick enough? We went over that. Do we relate to their culture? Again, we talk about different areas of the state. Just understand their culture of technology and how they do business. We have a very diverse group of dealers that one end of the state is going to do it 180 degrees different than the other end. You know, and let's learn from each other how you adapt to that. Do you really use the correct form of communication? I think sometimes we use the easiest form of communication instead of the correct, and we talked a little bit about it too. If you see there's frustration in a dealer, an email or a text isn't going to fix that. You got to see them face to face. You know, and I'm always a firm believer it doesn't always happen, and it's hard to sometimes, but if you see adversity and there's a problem, it doesn't matter what relationship you have, whether it's with your wife, your kids, a dealer, whatever, take care of it within 24 hours, because as it festers longer and longer, they think deeper into the situation, and then all of a sudden there's dumpster talk with 3 other dealers, and then there's a big problem. So head it off at the chase if you can. What's that? All right. Do you relate to their education level in the industry? You know, again, it's very diverse. There's a lot of guys that tell you a lot of what they know, but then when you ask specific questions, they probably don't know a few things. You know, and that's all about asking questions. You know, were they always taught the right way of doing it? And not to say that we have all the answers, but if we can get in there and teach them a different way, and there's facts behind the ways that we do it with specific information, maybe we need to educate them a little differently. But you have to be careful on, you know, how we present that to them. And then again, we went over it a lot, measure it. You know, I hear people with issues that keep reoccurring and reoccurring and reoccurring, and it's like, well, did you measure it? Did you take notes the last time? Now what's your plan going ahead, going in there the next time? You know, if you don't measure it, how do you even know where to start? So
They have these things called a smartphone that have cameras.
Yeah.
And video.
Right.
Use them.
Yes. So it's all about being a little bit more precise than the last time. All right, and then my last one, kind of about diamonds. We talk about this a little bit, how diamonds are formed and different things like that. So we'll start on the left side. A diamond is just a piece of charcoal that handled stress and exceptionally well. So, you know, it's just an ugly piece of coal in the earth, and all the elements that are in the earth to make that up, and all the pressure against it. And when they mine it, they do find diamonds, you know. And the last one under here, diamonds are nothing more than chunks of coal that stuck to their jobs. So how relatable is that to what we went through last year? You know, how many times did we quit last year? I probably quit 2 or 3 times, you know. But I learned a lot. I learned a lot from you guys. I learned a lot in conversations that were very frustrating on the phone. But, you know, what did we learn for 2019 to say, you know what, I conquered that last year. This year, you know, I polished a few edges that I had that were a little rough. And you know what, I feel a lot better about it. So a few things that I got out of just reading up on different things. Strong people are very much like diamonds to the left. Under intense pressure and stress in the right environment, turn out to be beautiful human beings. You know, whether it's inside or out. I think once they polish some of the things that they've, you know, went through and the stress that they've endured. I mean, you know enough people in your lives that it's like, holy smokes, how'd you go through that and come out looking or, you know, reacting the way you are? And we can go into a whole list of things on that. There are fake ones made of other materials that do not always last or may tarnish. You know, you look at cubic zirconium. It's not a diamond, but you know, it's in, look at other jewelry that's out there that is just not as polished as a diamond, but people are kind of the same way. They say that there's something of this or that, and sooner or later their character will come out that, well, you're not quite like that. Not that we want to dwell on how terrible they are, bring out the goodness in them, but be careful of it. It's just like jewelry. And then there's also kits that make crystals in 2 weeks. Like people, it is the easy way, the best way. So there's all kinds of entertainment and other devices to make our jobs easier, but sometimes we just got to go back to the old method of face-to-face, or sometimes going through some extra steps to make sure that next time I come up on this, it's going to be a lot easier the next time. All right, and then just kind of a little investigation and funny thing, the thing up to at the top here. I don't know if you guys have ever seen this. They say, hey, if you take a chunk of charcoal, you put it in peanut butter and then put it into ice, it's going to turn into a crystal. I watched a video on this the other night. It doesn't work. So if you're trying to get crystals out of a piece of coal, just a piece of charcoal, there's too many other byproducts in it, you'll never get a crystal out of it.
So Charlie,
Yes.
one thing I want to bring up to the group, because me and you talk about it all the time, is that, and I'll just say it because I don't really know how to explain it, the need for swag for us to spend money a little
Thank you.
bit. Yeah, so talk about that.
Yeah, so, you know, there was a slide here that we said, why is our competition sometimes lead us in certain topics, fields, whatever it is? And we talked a little bit about it in another DAC meeting. And I think that there's gifts that are given to people, and we have to be careful because we're a publicly traded company and all the other stuff, but the little things that are given to people, I think are sometimes missed in this district. So when I was a service guy, and Dave has talked about this numerous times, if I was just that lonely little service guy that put out fires all the time, and I got a hat once in a while, man, I felt like $1 million for at least a couple weeks. You know, if I got donuts maybe one morning, my boss hasn't done that for 3 weeks, but Lennox comes in and he buys donuts. I get a sweatshirt. There's a SPIF program put together, and I want it. Man, I put that much more effort into the company because I did that. Goes the same way for owners. You know, is there a trip program that we can all put our heads together just to kind of quiet the monsters that come to the DAC and say, oh, where's my trip? You know, and I don't mean that in a bad way. They probably deserve it. All they are looking for is a facilitator, whatever it is. So.
If I talk to Mike Carter, because I think I need to talk to Mike Carter on this topic, and I just said, Mike, we need to have a trip for the DAC. that solve like most of our problems. Is there any dealers outside the DEC that are even complaining about it?
Yes.
I mean, I think we benefit a lot if we can open it up to more dealers.
Yes.
Yeah,
I worry about doing what you said, because then you're giving them what they want, you're creating a monster.
Yeah.
Temporary.
Then it becomes a good old boys
It's
club.
a good old boys club, I'm afraid
It's a
of.
temporary fix.
Yeah, but if it's hinged on sales, so compare it to the Hour Steels, the Design Airs, the Gustav Larsons. Are they doing it? Are they still doing what they've done for 20, 30, 40 years? These guys are happy because they get a little reward at the end of the year. Are we missing the boat? Is there enough complaints about that? I don't know.
I just take Nick Schultz, and I know that they have with Lux Air an automatic, I don't know if it's 1% or 2%, I can't remember because it's in my notes, but anyways, automatically on every bill, he's charged that, and it goes into his
Sure.
spiff.
And he don't care if he's charged, does he?
No, it goes into his trip money, and he knows next year, this time, I'm gonna be somewhere, whether he knows what the trip is at that point or not. But he looks forward to that,
Sure.
and the camaraderie with other HVAC people.
We have new lines coming out, right?
Yes,
New furnaces coming out.
yes.
Do we hinge a trip on some of that? You sell X amount of these new units, you know, because if we're bringing merit to the counter, you know, that's gonna make a lot of people upset. Well, then up your game, up your sales, up your, you know, don't play with these bottom guys, up it. So maybe we base it on that. Sell more SLPs, more, convert them from E's to B's.
The problem, I heard at the DAC, which is a common discussion, they just want to, they don't want to be challenged. They don't want to be held to the fire. They just want to give me 1% of what I
Yeah.
purchased, and whatever I've already purchased from you, then I'll just get what I want. And there's no, the problem with that is, the great thing with that is, they're buying from us, they're going to get a trip, they love that, they'll be connected, the community will grow. The negative thing of that is, they're not doing anything for it.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
So, I
And then
did hear
there's-
several times, charge us an extra 1%. Okay, maybe that's the way we do it.
But then
Charge
there
us
was even some
1%.
people-
We raise our prices by 1%.
Yep.
I talked to, I had Tommy involved, Tommy and Mike, and say, listen, here's some ideas. Do it. Our dealers want to charge them 1% extra. We already think we're way overpriced in the market, but they're willing to pay one more percent if we can offer a trip program. They get 1% of what they earn back in trip funds. Can we do that?
Then we have CDQs and all that jazz. How's that gonna come into place?
essentially you're gonna get the people that purchase at normal price to pay for the trip of everybody else is getting CDQ price.
But
Which-
CDQ
Can you just
CDQs would have to go up.
They'd have to go up, everything would have to go up.
just go across the board and increase whatever you need to?
So that's the only, that's the other, the problem is I think you're gonna push away some people because of price.
Yeah.
They don't have to buy, they don't have to be the ones that, I think we increased it by 12%.
Make the quote easier.
You want me to write that under 1% for sure?
Yeah, but not everyone's gonna wanna,
Again,
agree to that.
So-
You just left it out because we have this, I think I wanna say we stuck just under 5% of that 6. Phenomenal. Okay, because we really truly held it. If we can hold all 5 of that, as an average, it's huge, guys. Most districts are gonna come in about 2 to 3. They're gonna water away with more CDQs and more stuff. And every time you do a CDQ and you move from 34% down to 18, you realize what you just did. There's no protection there. We just gave away whatever, 10%. Seriously, every time you do that, it's making our job way harder. And then at the same time, they say charge us up a percent more. That's the whole, that's why I look at those statements and I'm like, then why can't we charge you more today and let's pay for a trip better?
Yep.
And then remember there was a sector then that said, if I want to go on a trip, I'll just go on a trip.
Exactly.
You know, so you'll get people who will still complain and say, well, you know, I don't really want to go on a trip with everybody else. I'd rather just go on a trip with my wife and go where I want to go, you know. And so, you know, I almost wonder if something smaller than a trip, something domestic or tangible might even be something that would suppress them. I'm just using just a generic item, but a 60-inch TV is a lot cheaper than a trip. You know, even if I gave you a 60-inch TV and you've got a 60-inch TV in your house, what are you gonna do with it? You'd give it away to somebody else. You'd give it to your kid. You'd give it to your brother. But it might just.
What they're saying though, Eric, is that they love the community,
Right.
which you can't get out of a TV. You have to spend time with
No,
it.
exactly.
So
But I'm
that's-
just wondering if there is an alternate to the ones who say that, or if there's something that's in between. Because we had such a hard time putting the trip together, and then you had to pull the
We have a
rug
hard
out
time
from
putting a
under
trip
them.
together because you don't have money for a trip.
Right.
That's why. So let me see what Mike has to say with Tommy involved, and let's ask him, the leader of our residential company, we need a trip, Mike, what can we do? What can we do? So Charlie, you know you have a great topic when you branch off in a lot of different discussions, and I appreciate that. Let's keep talking about that, but.
And I remember Quan heard it directly from our dealers when he was involved. I mean, he heard the word trip more than I think anyone needs to hear in their lifetime on that call, but.
Because it made him feel better about all the crap going on. If we had a trip, we'd feel better at least.
Yeah.
Seriously. We're here, we have a wow, on a trip.
I mean, morale's a real thing.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. But it's a two-part thing, I think. And one of them's trips. But the other thing is the competition doing more than what we are? And I know their platform's different because they're a distributor. So do we give enough away? Would giving a few more things away bring our sales up to pay for what we're giving away? Is giveaways, or is the reward of recognition of what they did, is their feeling going to be more to buy more?
See a lot of guys unhappy when we actually take away the E price of the E's here very shortly.
Well, I think it was taken advantage of.
Absolutely, but you know what, we needed to take advantage, so you had some good.
Sure.
deals.
Yeah, what was the alternative? Let them bring on another brand?
Yeah. Well, I hope that they understand that taking it away is reality. Yeah.
Gosh, that's all I talked about in December, making sure that's going away, and this is the buy program, and
Yeah.
it's not gonna be around
Right.
in February.
So,
I think
Right.
what you're saying is the idea of domesticating, Conquer, Fortify, domesticate, and making everybody happy, making everybody part of the community, making everybody. The tech is a big thing.
Sure.
so does everybody understand that comedy is, everybody heard that before? Conquer, Fortify, Domesticate. You know, might not take a second. It's, back in the time of, the kings, right, and land, they'd be sitting around like, they'd have a war, right, and they get back, get healed, and the king would be like, we need to conquer another village. They'd send their troops out, and they'd conquer this village, they'd come back and they'd celebrate and heal, and pretty soon somebody would come back from the village, half dead, and says, oh man, we lost the village back to the so-and-so. The king was like, what do you mean we lost it? We conquered it. Right? We already conquered it. We've won it. This is our property, our land now. What do you mean we lost it? We went back to where it was, right? So then you got those smart people together and says, how do we conquer this village and lose it? Well, we got to fortify it. We got to build walls around it, protect it. Oh, all right. Send the troops back out, reconquer the village, right? Then they stay there and they build walls around the village. They shore it up. They keep some troops back there, and they hold it off. But eventually, a couple troops come back, half dead, beat up. Like, what happened? We lost the village. What do you mean? Calling the smart folks, and they have names for it, I can forget now, and call them back in and say, all right, so we conquered, and then we went back and we fortified, and now we lost it again. What's going on? So, king, we have to domesticate. We have to teach them our food. We have to teach them our language. We have to teach them our religion. We have to make them part of us. And once they're part of our community, they don't want to leave. Conquer, fortify, domesticate, and that works. Art of battle.
Yeah, so bottom line is I think that a few of them have made it evident that they don't feel the love of Lennox. So little gifts, a little Scooby snack sometimes cures that, Not saying it's for everyone, but, they're fighting a hard battle out there. They're dealing with the weather. They're dealing with the customers.
Scooby snacks to all these different platforms. Like, why on your bi-monthly calls, those that are registered, hey, your TM's gonna be bringing you a gift for being on the call. Next month on a bi-monthly call, those of attend will get a, you know,
To the hat or something.
slash hat. You know, if you have, if a company has more than 5 people, those 5 people are gonna get Lennox Bluetooth hats.
What's my budget?
Unlimited.
Hey, what, was that recorded? He said there wasn't a budget. Whew, you're all getting S30s, E30s, and M30s. All right.
Some guys want school.
Yeah, Yetis.
Now a dealer pulls in and he's got, 10 guys in a room. And then he said, okay, we got a 10 room platform for 11 of them, we give them these Bluetooth stocking hats, right? Those are really cool, by the way. And then, so then they have to verify it. So then what's the next step? How about they turn on their freaking camera so you can see them, so everybody can start seeing each other?
Tier it.
When you turn your camera on, you just made it, whatever.
Are you talking about the LED lights?
No, you haven't seen the stocking
There's a
cap,
stocking cap.
speakers in the ears, hooks to your phone.
Ew.
Dottie's gonna be wearing that next week.
So
I
that
don't like
makes me, that makes me
I don't either.
think of all the parts and supplies promos that we have going on. Our stores get graded a lot on those. STMs, why don't we hold out a little carrot and say, the dealer that buys the most of this XYZ special, we're gonna keep track of it and the winner's gonna get a Lennox radio. Or, why don't we use swag to get sales?
Mhm.
The promotions are sometimes good. Don't get me started on that. The current,
Don't get me started.
We're not snowmobiling today, right, guys?
the current promotion that we have.
Yeah, let's continue this
Cute.
somewhere else.
But I'm saying,
It's
But
8%.
you have to perform on it.
right, that's what I'm saying.
And I love your idea.
So why not hold out a carrot, right? And to some of our dealers that we do business normally with, just put it out there. Look, we're gonna have a contest. Whoever's gonna buy the most, you're gonna get Lennox radio. Second place is gonna get hats for your crew. Use
Right.
swag to get sales, right?
Right on?
But how do you,
Put it in writing.
well,
Time frame.
Send an email.
you can't do it dealer to dealer.
No,
I mean,
it'd be a one-off.
volume dealers, you can't compare one dealer to the next to do that, but you can say, if you spend,
Qualifying,
well,
right?
no, if you spend $1,000, so don't
Yep.
put it up against the dealer, just do it
Sure.
against themselves.
Get you this.
And then, yeah,
Yeah, I think
on
it's just
top
like,
of whatever it is.
Charlie,